and then we can get started. And of course, I always just record the instructions section, and I leave out the chats that we have. So these are fun little. This was actually inspired by Alexis. She bought something, a ceramic piece somewhere up. I think she was in Flagstaff, I think she said, and it was a cutest little thing. And I thought, oh, we could make something like this. And they're intended as a brush rest, or they're ring holders, and Cindy, I did check on the food safe. They are not food safe. I don't know of any glaze that will make them food safe. I think you could put dry goods in there and be okay, but I wouldn't put wet things inside, because I don't think they'll wash that well. I mean, they'll wash, but they're not food safe. So just wanted you to know that. This is the clay I'm going to use today, but I also, actually my first ones, I used the terracotta. And how I store these, just so you know, they come in a bag like this, right? Which is nice, but it's really hard to get them, keep them moist. You never want these to dry out, because they won't reconstitute. So what I do is when I'm working with it, I use packing tape, just like the Scotch packing tape, and I seal as much as I can around the edges. And then I put it in another bag just to make sure, because I do live in Arizona and things dry out really fast. So today I'm going to use the white because I've never used it. This is an unopened bag. They sell it in black, this terracotta and white. So the way it works is, what I'll do is I'll take this out, and I'm going to use cookie cutters. And if you don't have a cookie cutter, I do think you can just make this with a knife with no problem. I do have these little guys. I put the links on our website. These little guys they're called mooncake molds, and they come with this press and all that. But I like that they were round, because I wanted something round that I could make an impression in. But I also have like rubber stamps that are round, that also, I'm going to try those today as well, because I've never tried those, so I might as well try. They will leave an impression, so it should work. Or you can use those little, back when Tanya was showing us, remember these little cookie, these are like cookie letter presses. You can do all kinds of things to make impressions in your clay. Or you can just roll out an impression, which I could show you different ways to do that too. Like these little guys they're little clay rollers. They're so cute, and they come in all these different, there we are. You can see they come in little different things, and you just roll it out, and it makes a nice little impression. So there's all kinds of ways to make impressions in your clay. You can even, I would think, use just things around the house that could give you maybe even leaves or pieces of wood, all kinds of things. But today I'm going to show you how I made these bowls. And so you'll know that these, I had to let them dry about 2 days, maybe a little less, so I could paint them. And next week we'll be painting them. So after you make your little bowls today, let them dry, and then next week we'll paint them. And I just want to share with you that this is my favorite glaze. This actually, I've tried all different kinds, but for this to get almost like a ceramic effect, this triple thick gloss works really well. I've had this thing for about 10 years, and it was too thick when I opened it up, but all I did was thin it with a little bit of water, and now it's just to the right consistency. So it's a nice product, and since I've had it this long, it's true, it does not yellow, because many glazes that you get, if you keep them a long time, they'll start to yellow in the jar, and you know that they're going to yellow on your piece as well. So, all right, so I'm going to get started. I'm just going to take, and with this thing, there is really no right way or wrong way to remove, because it's just kind of shrink wrapped on there. So I'm just going to cut it on the side with my scissors, and I'm going to try to find the opening without destroying too much of the packaging, because I'd like to use the packaging. My scissors are going to get all wonky, but that's okay. Just trying to get as much as I can. Last time I did this, I destroyed the package, and then it was just a real hard to get that closed up again. So I'm just taking that off. Maybe I'll just peel back maybe a little bit so I can just get some of this clay out. I've never used the white before, but it's going to behave just like the black or just like the terracotta. And it kind of feels like cream cheese when it comes out. And you want to keep it as moist as possible. So you only want to take off or take out the amount you think you're going to use. And today I'm going to make several bowls. Why not? Because they're going to be fun to give away. I'm just going to take off that's about a quarter, not quite a quarter of the clay. Just going to take out that much. This will make about probably four bowls maybe. We'll see. But what I like to do is take that off. That's what I'll use, and then I'm going to put this away. I'm not going to tape it right now. But usually what I do is I have a bag handy just to keep the air out. I'll stick it in a little bag and leave it, because I might want to get back to it later, but at least get the air out so that I have some working, so don't let it dry out. The most important thing is you have to work kind of fast with this. So here's my little slab of clay. And just like this, I can work with it. And one thing I think I could use the brush here. You need some water, a little spray bottle. You need a nice little brush. This will work. If you have a soft brush, it's handy to have to smooth the edges out. And a cookie cutter, if you have it, a little knife, scissors, and anything to make impressions in. So now I'm just going to take the clay, and it's nicely, there's no bubbles in it right now, which is nice. And really, I could just start to lay it out or roll it out now. You could use a clay, like this is an actual pie roller, big lucite thing. It's nice and heavy. And then this is a commercial clay roller. And this one is nice, but it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. So you've got to kind of press down hard. And this one has some serious weight to it. So I'm just going to start to roll, and I'm just going to gently roll back and forth until I get, I can see there's some kind of texture here happening, which is, I guess, okay. But you want to roll it out until it's about, let me go this way too. You roll it in different directions. So you start in one direction and then start to, spread it out. And this is a nice roller for these big pieces of clay. And I think I'll be able to make a lot of these. And I'm using one of these, this little craft mat, which is nice because these little craft mats will protect your surface, of course, and it's non-stick, so your clay won't really stick very much to the surface. And these little silicone bowls will be great because the clay won't stick to that, to create that rounded shape. But I made my other bowls without any, I just formed them with my hands. I didn't have to have a bowl. So I just bought those just to see if it would make life a little easier. So I'm getting a nice little sheet of clay. It's still too thick, so I'm just going to keep rolling it in different directions. And now, probably good just to see if to make it uniform. I want to make sure that it's pretty much the same thickness all throughout. And that's what's nice about this big roller. If I had this little guy, it'd just take a little bit longer, but I could do it. You don't want it too thin, because when you're creating, you're pressing designs into the clay, you want to have some weight to it. So I'm going to test. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick all throughout. It feels like it's pretty even. So I'm going to just go ahead and create some forms. And this is the same as this. It's a sunflower pattern that I got. It's on Amazon. And I'm just going to press into it. And I might just do one of those to show you. Okay, and then maybe let's try the star too. I've got room. So I'm going to make as many as I can. I'm just going to fit them together as much as I can. There we go. Just try to I thought I'd get 4, but maybe I won't. Looks like, I could possibly, if I just squeeze that in. Here's the third one. And I'm going to try that star. So I've got this nice, so you can see, I'll pull this out. So see how it's just like about 1/8 of an inch thick in the thickness. So I'm going to try this star just because I haven't tried it yet. Hopefully I can fit it in like that. Now I've got that. So it's basically we're cooking, doing cookies, right? So you can take your clay pieces, move them out of the way, and of course, if you want to save it, put it in a ball. If you want to roll out some more, we can do that. You just kind of get the bubbles out and the cracks out and kind of do it while it's still moist, because if you let it dry, if you just kind of crumble it in a corner and let it dry, it won't be happy. So actually what I'll do is I'm going to set these aside for a sec. I'm just going to put them in places for now. And then I'll try rolling out maybe another set real quick. It's probably better at this point because it has been rolled once. I'm just going to press with my fingers to get a good feel. Make sure there's no big cracks. And then I'll roll it out. Maybe I can get a couple or just maybe one more out of that. It's the fun part this is like the easy part is rolling it out. Whoops, I'm getting these. Gotta make it wide enough though. There we go. So just flipping it. And if you find little rough areas, of course, that's actually the beauty of the clay. Since it is not, we're doing something handmade. So there we go. That's probably thick enough. It's a little thinner than the last one, but it's still going to work. I think I'll try the little, I don't know. I like the flowers. I'm going to do another flower. And I don't have room to do anything else, but this is a little bit thinner, so you could see what happens when you do a little thinner. Maybe just one more out of it. Maybe I'll do the star. So really you can get a lot out of just this amount of clay. And now I'm just going to roll it in my hands and keeping that. I want the clay I want it to not form big cracks. Because when this dries, it dries really hard, which is amazing. But you want to have the clay to have the integrity, you want the solid, you want it to be a solid. I think I could get one more, so I'll just do one more. And I like this white clay, even though it's not really white. It's kind of an off-white. When it dries, it will, now I see bubbles. If you can see, I've got little bubbles forming here. And you don't want that in your finished pieces. So if I can cut around that, there's a bubble here. You can like slice it with your knife, but you don't want bubbles, air bubbles in your clay. So you can just take it and just kind of get those bubbles out. And I'm going to just make a star. And then that will be that. So I've got all these to start to form now. I'm just going to put that little bit of clay on to the side. And now I have these awesome shapes. Now I'd like to make the impression first. So what you want to do is when you look at it, you'll see there's right on where the cookie cutter, there's a little edge that's kind of rough looking. You can sand that afterwards, but instead of sanding, it's better to make everything as finished as you can beforehand, before you dry it. So I'm just going to try, just for fun, I'm going to try pushing this stamp inside the middle and see what I get out of it. Because it says life is good, and we need to remember that. So I'm just going to push into it and see if I can get a good impression. And I'm kind of giving it a nice even pressure going down into the clay. And I do see it. It says life is good. Maybe the t-shirt company would be interested. So there it is. Now, if I could form it in my hands, and what I did use in my other these bowls is I did use a bowl, and I had to figure out how to get it out of the bowl. So in this one, I'm just going to drop this into this little silicone bowl, and now I've got it's already there. It's pretty much formed. But you do want it to, since these have a very round bottom instead of a flat bottom, it may not lay flat, and it might just roll around. So I'm going to let it sit for a minute like that, and then I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to do a little softening, which you could do. Oops. You could take a little water, and just spritz a little bit of water, and and to smooth edges, I've got water on my brush, and I'm just going to smooth the edges of these little petals. You can see I'm just taking the water, and I'm just going to I smooth it with the brush. And this brush is almost too soft. It's not really doing a lot to take those edges down. If I wanted to, I can I could just do it when it's dry. You can sand this clay afterwards. So, you know, even though sanding is just another step that we could want to avoid, right? So this one, the star shape is interesting to make into a brush rest, but I really do like this shape here. This is this sunflower shape. I'm going to just put, this is the little mold, little plastic mold. I'm just going to find the center. And what I like about this mold is it creates like a base for the flower too. When you push it down, you just have to give it a nice, good pressure and then pick it up. And if it doesn't work the first time, then you can always do another, you know, press it down again. But there it is, got that little, and I'm going to stick it in the silicone just to see what happens. Just going to drop it in there and let that, and what's happening is that the press just created a kind of it's going to help it form a little bit better as I just drop it into the bowl. I don't want to press too hard and mess up my print, but I'm just going to get it, form it. And this is exactly what I did with my hands to make the other ones, but I'm just using the bowl just as a way to just kind of help it along until I get it to the shape that I like. And I can see I need to move it around, but maybe right now I'll leave it alone. You can, you know, while it's still pliable, you can reform it like this one. I'm going to take it, I'll just take it out a little bit. I've never used the bowl, so I think I'll leave it. Because you have some time it's pliable, but it gets firmer over time. So I've got a nice shape there. I'll let that sit. And then this is a little thicker, so I'm going to press something else in it. Never used this before. I'm going to see how that works. It's a rubber stamp. I'm going to give it a really nice push down, and then lift it up. And it gives a nice impression, but not as deep as the other one, but it's still nice. Now, I also noticed that it's not centered. So how do I fix that? Well, you can fix that. I could actually just soften it with my fingers, soften that first impression, and I'm going to do it a little deeper this time. I'm going to shift it a little bit to the right. It's harder to see the roundness because of the, actually what I'm going to do with this one, I'll do this another one. I'll just take this flower right there. I'll just take one of these because I know these work. And they're definitely, I can see the circle. I could find out where my center is a lot easier than the other one. So there's the center, kind of relatively the center. And I'm going to give it a nice press. And then I'm going to lift it up. And so you can't even see the other one. It's not even there. And I'll show you when you do it with your hands, you just take your hands and fold it in and form it. And it does help to have something round to kind of keep that form, but you don't need, it's not necessary. It's not like absolutely necessary to do that. And as you move these around, just as it dries, it will give you can create that form a lot easier. But I think the bowls are going to be a nice way to do it. But this is how I did it last time. I just cupped it in my hand and I created that shape. And then once I found the shape I wanted, I just let it sit and dry. But you just need to give yourself time, give yourself time to do this. But I think the bowls will make this process so much easier. Just pressing it in and letting it take the shape. And then after about an hour or so, I will probably come back to these and they'll be a little bit drier, but they won't be dry and I can still move them around. They won't be completely dry, but they'll be slightly drier, enough so that I could form them, kind of keep that shape. Let's do another one of these. This is one I haven't tried yet, this one. And this is a little thinner. This clay is a little bit thinner. I'm just going to do this find that center and then press. Gotta probably be careful on that one because it is thin. I could feel the sides popping up already. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. So you could leave it down on the table so that you have a flat bowl. Like these have a flat bottom, and that's because I did it on the table. And I just kept forming it as the day, it took maybe something I couldn't do in 20 minutes. I do remember it took me a while to get that shape the way I wanted it. But I've started it, but it still needs to be formed. It's still too soft for me to do that. So I'll just give it a minute. I'll put it off to the side. This is for fun. I'm going to try. Might as well make a bunch of these. Here, I wanted to show you too. You can make, let's say you want to have a design in your, here we go, with this stuff. So I'm just going to roll it gently, and it will misshapen. It will change the shape of this. So I'm just going to roll it and it kind of makes it larger. There we go. And I'm just kind of giving a little impression. And I do see that now my star has kind of turned into something different. It's not quite. Now, if I want to, I can take another one of these. These are leaves. And I'm going to see what happens. I've never done this before, but going in the opposite direction will give that form, put that form back. Oh, that's kind of cool. So now I've got leaves and these lines going through it. And the same thing, I can just create another. See, at this time, I'll try this one. I'm just going to curl it a little bit up like that. This almost looks like a starfish to me. And these are so much fun to paint. I'm just going to stick it in there. And just let it sit for a while. And then once, maybe one of them, I'll be able to get back to it. And I'll do one more. I think we'll try a different stamp mold, which I don't think I've tried this one. Maybe I haven't tried that one, but I like that little round one. I think I'll do another one. Let's do another right in here. I'm pressing farther down this time because I have a little slightly thicker. See how really nice and deep impression. And this one, it came out very faint, but you can see the deeper you go, the better the impression is. So I'm going to just stick this in another bowl. And what would be nice, just like these, making these into an ornament, just poking a hole. And if you remember, when I'll show you these little things, these little metal things, these actually make holes. So if you wanted to make a hole in one, like let's take this one, for instance. I'll take this one out of the bowl. Even though that's going to be cute, just like that. That will also make a nice, I think the brush rest will work. Yep. But let's say I wanted to, I won't do it out of that. I'll do it out of some scrap because I want to see how that looks when we paint it. Let's say you have a piece of, you want to make a hole in one of them and to make an ornament. You just take these little tubes and you push it in, and you can create your own little hole to make jewelry or a pendant or anything. In there, I've got the hole there. So that's how I made that. Because if you try to make a hole with just, let's say, the end of a brush or something, you're going to just press. You can do that, but it just kind of spreads it out, but it doesn't really punch a good hole in it. So I think it's a little more difficult. It's possible to do it, but it sort of kind of ruins the integrity of the clay by pushing it around. It's still doable, but these little metal things are very handy for that. And I got these also on Amazon. When Tanya first started the class, so you get all these different sizes, but I decided that I needed something like this because you can make little tiny buttons if you want, all kinds of things that you can make with this clay. And it's best to just make as many as you can, and then you can, because you have their time of this wet time that you have. And I'm just going to let that sit like this for a bit, and maybe I wanted to show you, You can also, if you lightly spritz your clay, I mean, that's very light. And this brush may or may not be, but you can also smooth it with your fingers. You can take it and just take a brush and just smooth those edges out. If you have any rough edges, it's just easier to do it while it's wet than when it's dry. And if you have any boo-boos, if you want to just fix them. But what's amazing is that when you paint, the boo-boos go away anyway. So I think I'd like to make this a little deeper. So this will be an interesting test to see, because that's just too shallow of a impression. And I'm just going to stick it right back over it. And it's not exactly lined up, but I don't think it will matter. We'll just see what happens when I push it in. Oh, and it cracked, because see what happened? That's from putting the water on it. So I just kind of destroyed that. So I could probably, yeah, that was, I see how it just went, it's falling apart. So I can put that together, no loss. I still have clay. I'll just mix it in with the other clay. And it kind of has a little moisture, which is nice, because you lose it just every few minutes that your clay is sitting out. You will lose moisture. So I'm just going to roll. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll roll it out, because I do want to make another one of those. Why not? And just, I can see these little holes, or this, like the way I just did that, that's going to create air pockets. So you just, when you're working with it, just move the air pockets out. Just try not to add more air pockets if you can avoid it at all. And usually it's just the way you mold the clay. And with the terracotta, with the white, my hands aren't looking too messy, but boy, that black clay and the terracotta, it definitely, you get that feeling that you're working with clay, because you've got lots of pigment on your skin. So I'm going to just try to roll this out. First, I'll press it out with my fingers and make sure I don't have major cracks or bubbles. And then I'm going to use the little, just to show you, it can be done. The little roller it's fine. It just doesn't roll out as fast. Maybe that's good, without, you'll have less, you have more control. I think these kind of remind me of cookies too. Makes me hungry. So it's basically the same thing that you do if you were doing sugar cookies. You're just making clay cookies, but you're forming them into these really useful little containers. Now there's a little crack on this here. I'm not going to concern myself too much, but I think I'll do the press stamp on top of that. I'll just take this and I'll do another press with that. Get this off, and I'll just put it on like that. And I'll try that again one more time, that flower that I like. And stick it right here in the middle. This time I won't go as deep. And there's like a fine line. Okay, I hope that works. Nope, it's not what I want. Isn't that terrible? I'm so picky, but it is going to be what it is unless I just, okay, I can do it. I think I can do it. You can just lay it over. You can kind of feel where you stamped before, and I'll just try it again, pushing down a little harder. And now hopefully I'll get a good impression. That's better. It looks a little blurry, but it is what it is. So now I've had, this one's been sitting, I'll have these guys aside for a bit. This has been sitting in the bowl for a minute. So now I'm going to take it out. It's been sitting in maybe 10 minutes, I think, right? And take it out of there gently. And now I'm going to just see, now it's keeping its form, which is nice. And this is where I will take the brush and just soften the edges. Of course, that's not brushes, not working so good. You can do it with your fingers as well. Get those little edges kind of nice. But you can also sand it. But I'm not a fan of sanding so much as I am. I'd rather play with the clay with my fingers. So a little bit of water on the brush, and now I'm just gonna paint it like a little bit. So it's painting the wrinkles out, painting those little rough edges out. And I like that it sits nice and flat on the table. So that means when the bowl is being used, it's not going to roll around. Just doing a little touch up on the sides, but it's not that important. But it's nice to just smooth it out if you can. So that one I like, that one just like that. And the best thing to do is to sit it somewhere in a window or somewhere just where you can just let it dry. And by tomorrow, or actually by the end of today, it will be, you won't be able to move it around, just even a few hours, but it cures in about 24 hours. And I think though, before we paint, you should have it cure even longer, just depending on what kind of weather, what kind of humidity you have in your area. And just kind of cuddle it and get it to the shape you like, and then set it somewhere. And I got to pick it up now. And now once I set it to its final little resting place, I can reshape it a little bit there. So I did that. And this one, since it's a star, I've never used this shape before. We'll see how it does. Sitting it on a flat surface and then just shaping it. But having that little time sitting in the bowl like that, it does seem to help. So this one will work, but not as a container so much, but definitely as a brush rest. And I like that it says life is good. And this one, same thing, I'll just spray the edges. The little star edges are definitely showing more of the rough edges, but much easier to sand this one than it would be the other one. Too many surfaces. Now, if you don't have a cookie cutter, I would also show you, I'll just stick that to the side. If you don't have a cookie cutter and you want to just make a shape, in fact, I'll just do that with this one. You can just roll out your clay. So I've got, let's see. I'll make another flat little piece here. And so without a cookie cutter, it's all still possible. You don't have to buy stuff. Trying to have less, be able to create with less. So here I'm going to roll it out to about the size that I want. And what I could do, so that's about the size and the thickness. There's a lot of cracks on this side, so it's good to smooth them out. You want as many these cracks smoothed out. And then I'll turn it over. So again, now it's actually the right width or thickness. And I got my cracks out, let my fingerprints do the thing. And now if I don't have a cookie cutter, what I could do is I've got these little round shapes. I could kind of create, you can use anything like a jar lid or anything like that to create your shape if you want. Or you can you can make just a design if you want to have that serrated edge. So I can see that I have this little line. So now I'm going to just cut. And I'm going to make this I'm just going to make my own shape. And it could be random. It doesn't have to be perfect. And just cut pieces out. This might be more fun. It'll be more organic looking. So you can do the same thing. You can create your own designs just like doing this. Of course, I could have made a circle, a better circle. I'm trying to think if I can find something. Nope. I found something. I found the lid for these rescue pastils. Or it's not just the whole thing, but you could just get your circle shape, you can just press into it. And I didn't quite do that. There we are. Now I've got a nice circle. So I'll use that as my kind of my guide. And I think I'll just make this kind of random shapes. Could make a fish. Looks like it might be a fish. And just go around that circle. Maybe right here. I just want notches so that I can have it as a brush rest, because I want this to be a functional piece, even if it's not pretty. Here we go. I might even just take the other pieces and make them smaller. I've got the little notches. Oops, there we go. And these will be smaller. It's not looking pretty, is it? But so anything can be made with or without the tools. But you know, you just a different look, and I'm sure you would just be inspired. However, with working with clay, sometimes it's fun to just try something new that you're not sure if it's going to work or not. But hey, try it. And let's see, put a little sticker in it. I'm going to stick this right in the middle. Life is good. There we go. And now I'm just going to create the same thing. But this will need to be softened, or the edges are very rough. I think it'll be fun to paint this. So we'll just have to see how it looks next week. Here's a part that needs to be cut. There we go. So this will also function just like that other one. Just will be not as pretty. Now, once I've got that shape, I'll just let it sit. And I can always form it. And you can also do free form, like a finger bowl, with just taking the shapes, and just pinching, creating a pinch, which with a pinch pot, you would roll it, which I might as well do it with this one just to show you. You can actually roll the whole thing into a big, long snake. And you can create a pinch pot and then create those little dents in the top. See, this one there's a lot of air in there. I can feel it. I need to degas this. But a pinch pot, of course, is just simple. You just take that long snake and then roll it. And then you can create those indentations, and you can also create, there's all kinds of things. You can make a brush rest. Now I'm getting going here. Okay, I have an idea. You can create a brush rest very simply by taking let's say you want to just do a simple pinch. Let's do this. Okay, you've got like a roll. And you can just form it with your fingers, however you want. You can create designs on it if you want, or just leave it organic looking, but I'm just going to make some designs on it just to see. So it almost looks like it'll look, and have a texture that's kind of unique. And then, there we go. So now I've got this really interesting textured log kind of thing going. And what I'll do is I'm going to just create an indentation for my brushes. So I think I need a pen for that, and I'll grab a pen. And I'll just take, let's see where the highest point is, right there. And I'm just going to create an impression here, and one here, and one here. So I've got 3 places to put a brush. And then there I've got, so that is a nice place, will be a nice brush holder, brush rest. So that'll be kind of neat. And I'll just let that dry, and then I'll paint it. So that, we'll paint next week, but that you can see how the side of it looks and how it's going to work. And this clay will not shrink that I know of. You can even put little designs inside, like here, I'll just put like a little dot here and maybe a dot on this side. So we've got a couple of ways to make your brush rest now. I'm going to go a little deeper on that. And now I've got those 3, which you can buy these brush rests, cost quite a bit of money. In Japan, they have these beautiful ceramic brush rests that made out of dragons and everything, but you can make one yourself. I'm going to let that sit and dry. And I'm just about ready to, I think we're good. Oh, I wanted to show you. You just have to give these time to, you can see, you want to, you don't want it so wet that, you want it to be able to sit like this for a while and then create your forms. And also, if you want to make them more organic, you can move the shapes around so that maybe the petals of these could go in different directions. I'm just going to take that out of the silicone bowl. Now I've got a nice shape here. This is, you can see, is a lot thicker. And just take those, and I'll clean that up a little bit later. But so you can see it keeps the shape nicely when you put them in the bowl for a little while.